welcome back to my channel. And a new season is right around the corner, one of my favorite seasons. And with the new season comes a new lineup of seasonal produce. And we all know that, consuming a diet full of fruits and vegetables is really the key to living a healthy and balanced lifestyle. But how many of you are aware of the amount of chemicals and pesticides on our produce that really could be doing us more harm than good? In fact, the U.S. uses 1.2 billion pounds of pesticides a year, but only 1% actually reach the intended target, the bugs. Guess where the rest go? The rest contaminate our food and water. This is really important to know because this has been linked to numerous of health problems like hormone disruption, like early, onset puberty, skin and nervous system toxicity, cancer, birth and reproductive defects like infertility, and so much more. And according to the EWG, at least one pesticide remains on 63% of commonly purchased produce even after it's been washed. And if you're not aware, the EWG is a nonprofit organization that helps you become a more conscious consumer by providing a ton of information on how to keep you and the earth healthy by limiting our exposure to all of these harmful chemicals. So go check them out. I will definitely leave a description or a link in the description below. But now, after seeing that over 70% of our foods are covered in pesticides, it really is important to know how to shop for produce. Nowadays, most grocery stores have the produce divided up based on how, the produce was grown. But if they don't, then this is where those little stickers and numbers on the produce come in. Yes, those stickers are very important and they are called POU codes, and here's what they mean, all right? So if you see a 5-digit code starting with 9, for example, 94129, then that means it is organic produce. If you see a 4-digit code starting with 4, for example, 4001, that means that it is conventionally grown produce. And last but not least, if you see a 5-digit code starting with the number 8, for example, 83137, that means it is genetically modified produce. Now, what does all of this mean? So organically grown produce really means the produce that is grown without chemically, formulated fertilizers, growth stimulants, antibiotics, or pesticides, and they are grown with feed or fertilizer from plant origins like compost or manure. Organically grown produce has stricter guidelines to follow when it comes to their production, and overall, organically grown produce is, beats conventional because it's more nutritious, has more of your antioxidants, your phytonutrients, by as much as 10%. So it really is great to buy organic. Now, can organic be a little bit more expensive? Sure. But my response to that always is, would you rather pay on the front end or would you rather pay on the back end with doctor bills and visits and prescription medication? I think the answer is pretty obvious there, right? Now, moving on to conventionally grown. So conventionally grown uses fertilizers and pesticides for a higher yield and out of season growth. So they use fertilizers and pesticides to help grow produce that is not in season and to help produce massive amounts of produce for a higher yield. And conventionally grown do not really have to follow strict guidelines like organic. So that's kind of a nutshell of what conventionally grown is. They do use pesticides and fertilizers to produce more amounts of produce. And then last but not least is GMO. So GMO is genetically modified organisms, and these have been modified by using, in vitro and DNA mechanisms or techniques, and really messing with its natural state. And so most GMOs are herbicide tolerant and resistant to infection and disease, meaning that these farmers or, whatever, they can just do whatever with GMO because they're resistant to anything, right? And so they use, these herbicides and pesticides, and these end up in our food, which again goes back to all of the health problems that I mentioned before, fertility, the aging, and also including liver dysfunction. And did you know 90% of corn and soybean products are GMO, genetically modified? So it's really important if you're buying those two products that you buy organic. Now, this is really just the tip of the iceberg. I wanted to touch on this. This is not an exhaustive conversation. I may need to make this a whole topic or series as well about becoming a conscious consumer, because that's really part of living a healthy lifestyle, and I'm probably going to do that. So this is going to be part 1 of your conscious consumer series, so definitely stay tuned for the next in the series. But really, now that you're kind of armed with this information, do you now see why it's important to buy and choose organic, so you know what you're putting into your body? And unless you really are growing your own food, which I highly recommend, I'm on that process as well. Truth is, you know, if you eat organic foods, you're going to eat fewer pesticides, okay? But buying organic doesn't have to be kind of all or nothing. In fact, the EWG, the Environmental Working Group that I mentioned earlier, they compile a list of the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen every year. And this is a great list to kind of go by on what you should be buying organically versus conventionally, because there's some foods that you can buy conventionally. I get it. You can't buy everything organic. That's totally understandable. And the Clean 15 are those produce that you can get away with buying conventionally, because they're a little cleaner and have fewer pesticides than the GMO. And so they haven't compiled the 2023 list, but for 2022, the Clean 15 was avocados, sweet corn. If you're going to buy corn, buy organic, because again, it's GMO'd. Pineapples, onions, papaya, frozen sweet peas. Also papaya, buy organic, because that is mostly done with a GMO seed. Asparagus, honeydew melon, kiwi, cabbage, mushroom, cantaloupe, mangoes, watermelon, and sweet potato. So those are the items that you can get away with buying conventionally. And for your dirty dozen, these are the produce that you definitely want to stay away from. This has a high count of pesticides. So these are strawberries, spinach, kale, collard, and mustard greens, all 3 of those. Nectarines, apples, grapes, bell and hot peppers, cherries, peaches, pears, celery, and tomatoes. So those are the ones that you definitely want to buy organic, okay? So the Dirty Dozen, buy organic. The Clean 15, you can get away with buying conventionally, okay? So again, now that you're armed and equipped with this knowledge, it's really important that you take the time to be a conscious consumer, pay more attention to what you're putting into your body. We are getting ready for a new season. It is important to eat in season, which I'll probably do another video about that and what foods you can start incorporating into the spring, because that's coming right around the corner. But yes, now that you're equipped with this knowledge, make sure you take the time to pay more attention to what you're putting into your body. Because it really does kind of mean life or death. Do you want to have these pesticides? Do you want to have these problems? I don't think you do, right? All right, well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.